Most people think blood work tells whether or not you're sick. If you know how to read it, what it actually tells you is how well you're aging, whether you're in decline or in resilience. In this live, I'm going to show you how digestion shows up in your blood and why symptoms like fatigue or shortness of breath or cotton brain fog or muscle loss and emotional flatness are important early markers that can show up before labs start turning south, and which markers quietly predict resilience or decline. I'll also give you practical diet and lifestyle steps that you can start right away. So let's talk about these markers. If you've ever been told your labs are normal while you still feel bloated, puffy, tired, or like your brain has left the building, then this live is for you. This is something that I wish every man and woman in her or his 30s to 70s knew. There are quiet lab markers that don't just predict disease, they whisper about your longevity, how well you're likely to age, and they're deeply tied to your digestion. I'm going to walk you through a few of these markers in plain language and show you what else they might be telling you about your health and give you simple, doable steps that you can start today. So grab some tea, maybe a notebook, and let's drop your nervous system down a notch. And by the way, this is great information and a lot of it. So I made it easy for you. I created a PDF that you can download. Just click in the link below. At the same time, please join me on my mission to help spread health freedom. This is where your life runs by your rules, not your medicines. So let's increase your vitality and relax. Let's reframe longevity for a moment. Let's talk about it not from the perspective of, am I going to live to 95, but how well will I move, think, and digest and love my life in my 60s and beyond? Think of your blood as quite literally your digestion in circulation. Your spleen and stomach take in food. They transform it into oxygen and blood and energy. And the liver stores and regulates it. The heart circulates it, and the lungs oxygenate it. So when I look at blood work through this lens of functional medicine and traditional Chinese medicine, I'm not just asking, is this normal? Is this good enough? Is this pass or fail? Is this not an F? Does this person need drugs or surgery? Am I going to tell them just to wait until it gets worse? Click in the comments if you've heard any of these. I'm asking, does this show a system that will age gracefully and naturally, or one that's quietly burning through its reserves and headed for accelerated aging before its time? Let's look at hemoglobin and hematocrit. In Western terms, they tell us about the amount and redness of your blood, how well you carry oxygen and nutrients. In Chinese medicine, they tell us how well your stomach fire and spleen qi are transforming food into real nourishment. When these live on the low side or the low normal side, especially with fatigue, shortness of breath on exertion, or feeling cold, it says the stomach fire may be low. And here we're talking about something as simple as hydrochloric acid or poor protein and iron absorption. It also says spleen, qi, and yang may be tired. So that looks like food's going in, but it's not fully transforming into qi and blood. Leaky gut would fall into this category. Over a lifespan, that kind of low-grade, undernourishing pattern can mean less resilience, slower recovery, and more vulnerability to both mood changes and chronic illness. Quick action steps that you can start with look like favoring warm cooked meals, soups, stews, congee, gently stewed meats over cold salads and smoothies. So don't do the cold salads and smoothies because you don't have the digestive fire to convert that, especially if you're running cold or if you're bloated. Add a little pre-meal support for stomach fire. If you can tolerate it, a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar and warm water, or a few bites of fermented veggies if your gut's okay with that. Make protein easier to digest. Think slow cooked meats or eggs or lentil soups instead of dense, dry cuts. This isn't just about fixing a number. It's about telling your body you are safe. You will be fed. You don't need to shut down to survive. Next, let's talk about MCV and MCH, which is the quiet B12 and folate story. These two markers tell us about the size and weight of your red blood cells. These are some of my favorite longevity markers because they reveal how well you're using B12 and folate and protein to build healthy cells and to protect your brain. When these two are high, it's called a macrocytic pattern, and it often points to B12 and folate insufficiency or a sluggish spleen yang that isn't holding and concentrating the blood properly. Clinically, that often feels like fatigue, brain fog, mood swings, or tingling, even if your hemoglobin looks okay. Long term, we know low B12, folate, and poor absorption are linked to cognitive decline, neuropathy, and more frail aging. From a TCM view, it's blood not fully nourished and spleen not fully supported, spirit not fully anchored. Simple next steps that you can take or speak with your clinician about. Number one is check those macrocytic markers, your MCV and your MCH, along with B12 and folate, especially if you're on acid blocking meds that damage the parietal cells that make intrinsic factor. Lean into foods that support B vitamins, egg yolks, leafy greens, beets, and when appropriate, a methylated B complex. If you have the MTHFR gene, you're going to need that methylated B complex. And finally, eat with rhythm. 3 solid meals, minimal grazing to give the spleen time to transform and the gut to absorb. If you're noticing yourself forgetting words more, losing track of why you walked into a room, or feeling emotionally flat, please know this is okay. That happens to everyone at some point. Here in Florida, we get a lot of brain fog right after a hurricane when people are so exhausted. And I get a number of people that come to me worried that they have dementia or Alzheimer's, when this is just a natural state that's called, I call it hurricane brain. However, with the proper support, a person can recover from this very quickly. If they're not supported, I've seen this take many months to resolve. Just know this is a beautiful place to be curious rather than ashamed. Next, let's talk about platelets and, interestingly, your ability to let go. These clotting cells tell us how well you hold and move your blood. Low platelets can reflect spleen Qi deficiency, difficulty holding blood in the vessels, and that shows up as easy bruising or heavier periods or feeling drained by small stressors. Very high platelets can point towards too much holding, blood stasis and heat, a body that clings to the past and has trouble adapting. Over decades, both extremes can increase risk for bleeding or clotting events, but they also mirror emotional patterns. Literally, what's running through your blood, the compounds running through your blood, affect the way you see the world and interact with it. This person might have trouble integrating experiences or trouble letting go. Gentle supports are needed here. Strengthen the spleen Qi with regular meal times, less sugar and alcohol, and easy to digest warm foods. Your classic spleen Qi deficiency with dampness, or in the Decode Your Dolphin system, this is called the manatee phase. If tendencies toward thick or stagnant patterns are present, history of clotting issues, headaches from tension, or feeling stuck, Talk with your provider about safe ways to move blood, but a place you can start is by simple movement, walking, stretching. And if safe and appropriate, you can talk to your provider about omega-3s. One way to think about this is how your blood moves is how your life moves. We want flow without leaking. We want structure without rigidity. Next, let's talk about our white blood cells and how that affects our immune system, which we call the Wei Qi. White blood cells come from the bone marrow, and that's made from kidney jing or essence, because the kidneys release erythropoietin, and that goes to your bones and tells them to make white blood cells. So that's the Western link. But they're trained and informed in the gut and the spleen and the lymph, which is your digestion and defensive qi. Chronically low normal or low white blood cell counts can suggest spleen qi and kidney jing are tired. There just aren't enough reserves to mount strong responses. Repeated spikes from constant infections, allergies, or simmering inflammation tell us that the immune system is living on high alert, which accelerates biological aging. And those simmering inflammations, that can come from latent infections like Epstein-Barr virus or even mold or Lyme. Aging well isn't about having zero immune activation. Immune activations, that's just life. That's just stress. That's going to happen. But this is about flexibility, how well you can respond, have enough reserves to respond appropriately, and enough calm to stand down and relax afterwards. So if you get activated and it's really hard for you to wind down and calm, that's a good sign that you're moving out of resilience into decline. And there are things that can be done. Support your Wei Qi and long-term resilience by cleaning up dampness. So that's going to look like less sugar, less white flour, less excessive dairy, more cooked veggies, lean proteins, and maybe modest gluten-free whole grains if you can tolerate them. Adding gentle movements that pump the lymph, even calf raises, where you just go up on your tippy toes and come down, or walking or rebounding, or a short shaking qigong practice. And then my favorite is honoring rest. Deep, regular sleep is one of the most powerful Wei Qi tonics we have. And you've experienced this if you've ever started to feel under the weather and you just decided to take a nap and you woke up and everything was reset and you were fine. That was honoring your Wei Qi and your need for rest. When white cells and inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein and homocysteine trend more balanced, we even see better cardiovascular health and slower vascular aging over time. All right, our last one for the day is protein, total protein, albumin, and digestive strength. Simple numbers, but a big story. These tell us about how well you're actually breaking down and absorbing protein and how well your liver and spleen are doing the long, quiet work of building and maintaining tissues. Low total protein or albumin can hint at poor digestion, malabsorption, or chronic inflammation, your manatee phase, weak digestion pattern in lab form. Chronically low protein is linked to frailty, poor wound healing, muscle loss, and higher mortality in older adults. Every cell in your body needs protein. From a TCM lens, this is spleen qi deficiency with dampness. Your body is trying, but it just can't fully extract the goodness from what you eat. Some simple shifts are one warm, protein-rich meal earlier in the day. That might look like eggs with greens or turkey and sweet potato hash or lentil stew so your strongest digestive time is supported. And then build your meals like this. Half your plate should be cooked veggies. Have a palm of protein and a thumb-sized portion of healthy fat with small amounts of easy-to-digest starch. Finally, chew until your food is very soft and put the fork down between bites. That mechanical breakdown is spleen medicine. Over the years, that's the difference between feeling like your body is slowly shrinking and feeling like you can still carry your own groceries and dance with your grandkids. How to use this without overwhelm. As we wrap up, here's how I'd invite you all to use this without spinning out. Number one, pick one marker from today that you're curious about. Maybe it's the hemoglobin, hematocrit, maybe MCV, MCH if you've had brain fog, maybe white blood cell count if you're always sick. Pull up your last labs and circle just that one area. You don't have to understand every number to start asking better questions. And finally, choose one digestive support practice for the next 2 to 4 weeks. Warm breakfasts, less sugar, more chewing, or a short daily walk. Let your body feel the difference, not just your mind. Longevity is not a supplement, and it's not a single lab marker. It's the sum of tiny repeated acts of nourishment. Food, but not only food, thoughts and breath that tell your body you are worth caring for over the long haul. If this was helpful, let me know in the comments which marker you're going to look at first. And if you want to follow up live where we talk through those and how they map into our metabolic archetypes, I'm happy to do that next. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your time today. I'm so grateful and honored to be walking this journey with you. And if this has been helpful to you, remember to grab that PDF. I put a lot into it. It's really beautiful and it's really helpful. You can easily refer to it and get started on looking more deeply into your labs. And don't forget to like and subscribe and help me reach that 1,000 viewers this month so that I can help spread the word about medical freedom and remind people that they have the right and the ability to feel better themselves. Thank you so much. I'm Dr. Cynthia Clark, acupuncturist and nutritionist, and I hope you have a